Thank you for joining me today. I hope you all had a great holiday season. And I'm here today basically to tell you a little about my very own travel experience to the Mayan Riviera in Mexico just last month at the Bahia Principe resort chain. I was able to go down to Mexico for a 2-night trip, and though it was very, very short, we were able to pack so much activity and information into that trip. If you have any questions, we welcome you to put them into our chat function, and we will be taking a look at those questions throughout our presentation and doing our best to answer them. First off, hello, my name's Denise Mulligan. I am from the Sell-Off Vacations Ajax branch in Ontario. I've been with in the travel industry for over 10 years and with Sell-Off Vacations for over 4. I first got into travel because I love it. It's my hobby, it's my passion, and I figured what's the alternative, really? So I got into travel. I love it. It's an amazing industry, and get to do and see so much as well. As I mentioned, I had the opportunity to go down to Mexico in November on a familiarization trip with Air Canada Vacations, and it was so amazing after 8 months being able to travel again. With me today, I also have Armenia from Air Canada Vacations. She is the General Sales Manager for Air Canada Vacations. She was on the trip with me. Hi, Armenia. How are you?
I'm good, Denise. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was amazing. I know, right, Denise? A lot of us have not been on a plane in such a long time, and we were so grateful and thankful. And Air Canada Vacations put together, like she said, a familiarization trip so that we can encourage travel and show you all the necessary measures that we took. So we're going to talk about that today.
For sure. Do you mind just telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. So I've been in the industry over 20 years. I've been so blessed to work in always pretty much on this side of the business. And I work with such great, amazing partners like Sell-Off Vacations, who are my clients and who we make sure that we just everything that they require. And this is such a great, and kudos to Sell-Off Vacations and the team for putting something like this together, because knowledge is definitely the power that we need to make people understand. Because I still get questions to say when I was away, and we're going to talk about that, are your planes even flying? So this is a good thing. But yes, 20 years in the industry, wouldn't leave it for the world. I know it's hit us so devastatingly for sure, but we're slowly climbing back up that ladder.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about our experience in the Mayan Riviera. I'm sure all of our viewers are wondering what is it like to fly now? What's the process like? So let's talk about it. So my experience, of course, we both flew out of Toronto. At the Toronto airport was so amazing. I have to say it was seamless. It was smooth. Aside from the extra safety factors of, wearing your mask at the airport, lots of hand sanitizer, extra signage directing you where to go and what to do, I didn't feel like there was too much too different in the process. It's relatively unchanged as far as what you're doing, but you are noticing that those extra safety factors are in place. Anything that you wanted to add to that?
We were saying this as we were traveling, and I was lucky to go, of course, to Cancun, but I also flew a couple of times because I decided to explore within Canada when everything hit, because I still wanted to travel, but I went within Canada. So I've been on a plane and been blessed many times to be able to travel this year. And if it's one thing that I can say of is just how patient people have become due to all of this. I know sometimes you get to the airports and it's a little bit overwhelming, and the hustle and bustle. Yes, of course, the people weren't traveling like they used to, but people have become patient. People are explaining the procedures. They're taking the temperature checks. That's something we've never been so used to doing ever. But like Denise was saying, the process is still the same. Once we got on the plane, Air Canada Vacations, Air Canada implemented a Clean Care Plus. We were actually the first in North America to launch this just right after the pandemic. We worked with stellar people and scientists worldwide to make sure that every aspect of health and safety were met. We were able to experience from the filters on the plane to all of the little measurement. You can see it on the screen right now, what you get. And you walk on the plane, you get on the plane, everybody was extremely respectful. We had no issues with the masks. And you get your little sanitizers, you get a bottle of water, we got our pretzels, a mask, of course, hand wipes and gloves as well. So we fully stock you, and this happens on the way down as well back.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience getting on Air Canada. I have to say, as you're boarding the aircraft, seeing the flight attendants there in their full PPE, knowing that the situation is being taken seriously, and that they're doing everything to protect themselves and the clients or passengers, it's fantastic. And to be handed that little package full of just those little extras, just in case you happen to run out of hand sanitizer, or if you wanted to do some quick additional cleaning yourself, it's always a good thing. And we now know, of course, that those aircrafts are being completely sanitized prior to clients being boarded. But if it makes you feel a little bit better, you do have that option in that clean care kit to take care of it a little bit yourself as well. So nice little bonus there. And yeah, it really made the trip just that much smoother and nice. But the trip itself was fantastic. Come on, it was a great flight. All right, so let's see. Pam, do we have any questions from any of our viewers just yet?
We actually do. We've already got one question. So good afternoon, Denise and Armenia. Our first question that's come in, they're asking, what's the minimum age for the mask requirement on the aircraft?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So minimum age to be wearing the mask is 2 years old. Anybody 2 years old and over will be required to wear a mask. And I believe that is being enforced on the aircrafts. Is that correct, Armenia?
Absolutely. I could say that we've been so blessed to have very minimal issues. And when I say minimal, it's been resolved. But everybody's extremely respectful. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, but we've been really good, but we do enforce it. The flight attendants have every power in the world to work with the pilots, to work with security, that if it's not being, or someone's not wanting to put the mask on, they enforce it, and they could definitely remove them from the airplane if that's what needs to happen. But we're blessed to say that's not been an issue, and everybody's been respectful.
Oh, fantastic. Any other questions for us, Pam?
Yeah, actually, they're also asking, are we allowed to take our masks off to eat? Are we allowed to eat on board the aircraft?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can take your mask off to eat and drink on board. However, it is just, well, I know here in Ontario, you can take your mask off to eat and drink while you're in a restaurant, but you have to put it back on as soon as you're done your meal. So unfortunately, at this point, it is one of those times where you can't necessarily sit back and relax and enjoy an hour-long meal, but you can certainly eat and as soon as you're finished, put your mask back on. But I didn't find it too bad or restricting at all on that aircraft, actually. For the duration of the flight, doing that, I was actually quite comfortable on it. Yeah. Oh, those are great questions.
Actually, we have one more on that.
Oh, fantastic. Note. Okay.
Yeah, somebody's asking, what if they, for medical reasons, cannot wear a mask? My understanding is they would be denied boarding. Is that correct?
I believe, Armina, you can probably touch a little bit more on that for me.
Yes, it's absolutely crucial and critical. Again, we haven't really had any situations where someone has a actual medical reason. We even have had to implement, because we really have to consider the safety of everybody else on board, certain kind of masks that need to be worn or not worn. So it really is important to talk to your travel agent to escalate it to us, because depending on the medical condition, we will try to work with that client to see if there's anything that can be done.
Oh, amazing. That's so good. Oh, those are great questions, guys. Keep sending them in. That's what we're here for, to answer those questions. So that's fantastic. All right, so let's continue on here a little bit. So we've flown down to Mexico. Now what? So arriving into Mexico was, again, a very smooth procedure for us. And again, not a lot of changes as far as the procedures that you would go through. We did notice, of course, lots of hand sanitization stations, lots of signage directing you where to go. But in general, just like Toronto, the airports aren't packed to the extent that you normally would see. There are still people traveling, of course, but not as many as normal. So there is room for you to maintain those social distancing boundaries as well. But if you have any questions, and again, I found this in Toronto and in Mexico, ask. There's so many employees around that are willing and able to assist you with any questions or concerns that you may have. But again, I found the experience in Mexico very smooth. Grabbing our baggage and heading out to the transfer vehicles, again, was a painless experience. As you exited the arrivals area with your bags, you could see the Air Canada representatives. So again, they were maintaining some social distancing, and they were there wearing their masks, able to direct you as to where to go over to your transfer vehicles. Once you arrived at the transfer vehicles, again, hand sanitizer was provided prior to boarding. A mask is required while you're on board. There are seats that are reserved for social distancing, again, just to keep everybody safe and comfortable. And for me, one of the things that stood out is prior to your bags being loaded on board the bus, they were actually spraying them down with a spray to take care of all those viruses and those germs, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, it was amazing. I found that it was very safe. What did you think, Armenia?
Well, I think it was important to note that when Air Canada came out and we launched the Clean Care Plus program, we also realized, okay, well, it's great that we've got the aircraft covered, but what happens when people land in destination? That's also just as important. So the one thing I have to admit was really nice, and I've been blessed to go to Cancun maybe 30 plus times. But it was so nice to see that everyone, again, is really respecting what is happening in the world, caring for other people's health and safety. Everyone was equipped with their masks. Everyone was around to kind of, as you said, designate you to go in the right area. And then we thought at Air Canada Vacations, we have to think about the consumer once they land, because at that point there's a transfer aspect of it. There'll be meeting and touch points that they're working with as well. So we really had to work with that. And we started thinking outside the box, what can we do? So I'm glad you said it, Denise. We noticed that, you know, hand sanitizers everywhere. The staff was completely, you know, with their masks, etc. Spray sanitizers in their hands. The luggage is done prior to getting on the actual bus. Our temperature checks prior to getting on the bus. We actually had move people around on our transfer buses, move people around so that there's social distancing, because generally it can depending on the departure. You can have a bus of 30, you could also have a big coach bus of 52. So regardless of the departure, we're actually social distancing. So we really have thought it through. And then on top of that, which we're going to talk about, we are also working with hotel partners, and really good hotel partners. And I have to say, a lot of them are doing their part. And we went to the Bahia Principe, which we'll talk about shortly. We also worked with them as a tour operator to make sure that we worked closely to make the clients feel safe. And that's the important thing. And I can tell you, in all the years I've traveled, and this year I was able to, at least once you count back and forth, 8 times on an aircraft, I have never felt safer to travel than I have this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. There's so many steps in place. There's so many people in place to help you. I did not feel unsafe one step of the way. So definitely it's a great time to travel if you're looking for safety and communication and help. It's fantastic along the way, for sure. Awesome. All right. So getting into, we're in Mexico, we're on that transfer vehicle, we're heading to the resort. So as Armenia explained, we are staying at the Bahia Principe Grand Tulum. This resort was stunning. I have to say, it was incredible. And I'm sad to say that we were only there for 2 nights because I really wanted to stay a lot longer. The resort itself has been completely renovated. So as you can see from some of the pictures that are coming up on the screen, the rooms are gorgeous. Those beds are so comfortable. They are also providing a little comfort kit to you as well, which I thought was awesome. You've got a hand sanitizer, some additional masks while you're at the resort. And this is actually my room if you're watching that video. Each room prior to your arrival has been completely sanitized and disinfected, and a placard is placed on the door so that nobody will enter your room prior to your arrival. So again, just one more step to maintaining that that sanitation level for you. But as you can see, the rooms are absolutely gorgeous. And when we arrived at the resort and got off the bus, again, there was so many people there to help us. The resort itself is quite large, so we were able to take little carts to our rooms, and before our bags were loaded onto those carts, again, they were sanitized before we got to go, and hand sanitizer again once we arrived. It was fantastic. Now, once we got into the rooms and of course we're able to get settled in a little bit, then it was time to go and explore the resort. Armenia, can you tell us a little bit more about the resort?
Yes. You know what? This was Denise's first time at the Bahia Principe, so I was so glad that she was able to come with us because it really is such a great property and it's very spacious. So a lot of people had asked us, again, you're posting on social media and it's the best way to get people engaged and talking, and people are saying, are you the only one there? And I'm like, no, there are people here, but because the hotel is so spread out, I felt a little bit safer as well, because under these circumstances, I had enough space. I wasn't close to a lot of people if I didn't need to be. And it was great. The actual government, as we were talking to the general managers and the staff, at this point had implemented that the hotels can only be at a 60% capacity. And the hotel was indeed at 60%. But Denise, I think you could agree with me. It almost felt like maybe the hotel was at a 10% capacity, because
absolutely,
as you can see these pictures, where is everyone? I mean, trust me, we ended up finding them probably at the adults pool and the swim up bar, because we did actually see those people. So people kept questioning, am I by myself? No, I was not. I was with a group of great travel agents, and then we got to see some tourists from of course, Canadians. So we got some people in the US, got some people from Spain and from the UK, which were most of the people that I started talking to a little bit there. But even during the check-in process as well, you notice we had those, remember Denise, they were making you actually clean your shoes before you kind of enter the property. And a lot of them do that at wherever we go, whether it was the restaurant or whether it was the lobby. So it was just an extra precautionary that we could do, but staff completely fully, they actually had people throughout the property that would just kind of hold the sign, just asking you to respect the 2-meter distance as well, which I thought that was pretty impressive as well. They're doing everything possible to make sure that people feel safe. And again, I think you could agree, Denise, we totally did. And we were there working and trying to experience it, so it wasn't more of a lounging type of vacation, which you could afford to stay away. But it was great.
Exactly. Yeah, and I have to just quick little touch point on the staff at the resort. They are in full PPE. They're wearing masks. A lot of them are even wearing a face guard as well. But if you have any questions whatsoever, you needed any help, they were there to help you. They were so glad to have people back at the resort. They were incredible, I have to say. Fantastic. All right, let's see what else we've got to talk about here. So as you can see that there are some pictures going across the screen of the actual resort, and you can see how beautiful it is. They've actually added that water park on, which is fantastic as well. Now, one of the questions that I've been getting a lot about is food. Are the buffets open? Are the restaurants open? And absolutely 100%, yes, they are. So again, little video showing right now of the buffet at the resort. And again, all those precautions are in place. So as soon as you enter into the restaurant, of course, you do have to wear your mask and sanitize your hands. Going into the buffet area, you can see that there are attendants in front of all the stations and they do have a barrier up. So no longer are guests allowed to self-serve themselves at the buffet. Everything will be served to you, but everything is open. Nothing has changed as far as the food that is available to you, the different stations. Where do you know, at breakfast, do you want that fresh omelet, or in the evening if you want that pasta dish made to order? Everything is still there, but you'll just, again, you can either point or say you want a little bit of that and they will plate it for you. But yeah, it was fantastic and the food was so good, so good. All right, fantastic. Anything to add there, Amelia?
You know, one thing I also noticed as well, I mean, they've always been great with the service. The Bahia chain always has been fantastic. But we noticed that as soon as we would leave the table, they were there just making sure that that table was completely sanitized. So they are taking that extra precaution and need. And I truly believe this is probably going to be the way to go as we're talking to the staff and the GMs of the resort. This is pretty much the way things are going to go as we move forward, because it's easy, it's natural, they were saying to us as well. And whatever can make the guests feel comfortable is what they're going to do moving forward.
Absolutely. And you can see in that video the amount of people that are there. Everybody is wearing a mask and respecting those social distancing boundaries. So I think, yeah, respect for other people is huge at this point as well. Pam, we're going to check back in with you. Any other questions for us come in?
Oh my goodness, yes, lots of questions.
Fantastic.
The first thing I want to clarify is the flying with a mask rule. Even with a doctor's note, unfortunately, you would need to wear a mask. So if for some reason you can't wear a mask, this goes for all airlines, whether we're flying domestic or international, you would be denied boarding. They have to keep all the passengers safe. But do keep in mind, this isn't going to be forever, so try and hang in there. And now they're asking, are the seats social distanced on the aircraft?
Amelia, over to you.
Yes. Well, you know, when the pandemic did start, we actually had a date in July. I think it was up until July 14th, and excuse me on the actual date, but we did have our seats socially distanced for sure. Now, as we move forward, and it's been since July, since that has stopped, we no longer social distance with our seats anymore. So it hasn't been a problem. Again, we have been respecting the masks, hasn't been an issue. And this is the reality of us moving forward. We've reduced our capacity, unfortunately, due to the demand, but we're happy to see a light at the end of the tunnel, that we keep adding more capacity as the time keeps going on, because people are traveling. And like I said, having a great backup support system of a travel agent behind you to give you all this necessary information is really key. But we've been doing fine without it. The aircrafts have not been full. However, we have been on a couple. I've been one to Calgary this year that was pretty full. So it's hard to say if it is or isn't. But the short answer, I guess, is no. We're no longer doing that.
Excellent. And they're asking, did you ladies have to quarantine upon arrival or get a COVID test to go to Mexico?
For Mexico, no. So each country, of course, is a little bit different. And this is, again, another great reason to be using a travel agent, just to navigate through all these different COVID rules and policies and procedures. But Mexico, no. We were able to enter in directly and go right to our hotel and begin enjoying the trip. Of course, if you are experiencing any symptoms, don't travel, or we ask you not to, of course. But again, there are those procedures along the way where you are going to be having your temperature taken several times. So if you are experiencing a fever, it will be noted right away. But for Mexico, no, there's no COVID test required, and there's no additional quarantine required upon entry.
Excellent. And would you have been allowed to bring your own hand sanitizer through security?
Absolutely, yes. So the rule of security is no liquids over 100 milliliters and no total combined liquids over 1,000 milliliters, so a liter. So something like this would not be allowed, but if you had a little individual bottle, you can certainly bring that through. That's no problem.
That's right. I believe the rule is 125 milliliters or half a cup. So as long as it's a small bottle, but you're welcome to put hand sanitizer in your check bag.
For sure. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you could bring it down if you want it. But did anyone have to wear a mask at the beach?
Basically, while you're outside and if you are able to maintain those social distancing boundaries, it's not required. So the general rule is if you're inside or in a situation where you can't maintain social distancing, wear the mask, of course. But while you're outside on the beach, around the pool, it's not necessary, of course. Now, one of the things around the pools that I thought was fantastic is that they are setting the chairs or those lounge chairs up to like in couples or groups of 3, 4, but they are maintaining social distancing between those groupings of chairs. So again, even if the resort was at full capacity and everybody was at the pool, there is room to maneuver so that you wouldn't have to wear the mask while you're outside, essentially. Armenia, any other
I
bits of
know. I
info to
think
add there?
this is so new. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this ever before, but it was even interesting to see that as long as there was a cover over you, even though it was open space around you, people were very respectful and their masks were on. But the resort is so big, as we're walking through, if I found the area was busy, I found that even the guests, even international guests, were being very respectful and having their masks on. If you're walking through the pathway, it's, I guess, using your common sense and there's nobody around, of course, the mask would be off.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to ask you one more and then we can learn about your trip home. Are they restocking the mini bars daily?
Oh, good question. I believe so. I did not enjoy my mini bar to its fullest. Again, just because time was so short, but I believe they do restock at that resort. But I can double check on that for you. If you have any questions, if you want me to look into that a little bit further for you, just email me. It's no problem. I can look into that.
Great. And I'll ask the rest at the end.
Perfect. All right. So moving along on day 2, I had the opportunity to do an excursion in the Mayan. So I had on my list, on my bucket list for a very long time has been explore. So this park is about 25 minutes away from the Grand Bahia Tulum. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. They've got zip lining. They've got underwater rafting. They've got hammock swings. They've got amphibious vehicles. So just due to time restraints, we only did have the opportunity to go on the amphibious vehicles and the hammock swings, but it was more about the experience. So again, when we entered into the park, everybody had to sign in, hand sanitizer. We were given a helmet, which had been completely sanitized, and then you proceed into the cavern essentially and make your way through, and you can see all the beautiful cenotes underground. This is my little team here on the amphibious vehicle that we went through, and this is just a shot of the lobby, of course. Included in your admission to the park, you do have access to a locker. There are washrooms, there are change rooms available for you as well. And of course, you can take part in all the activities that are there. But again, people are maintaining that social distancing, the hammock swings, the amphibious vehicle. As soon as you were done with your ride, they were sanitized, so ready for the next person. While you're on the rides, of course, this one's going into the water. Again, it's not necessary for you to wear the mask while you're on the ride, but certainly when you get off, everybody was wearing the mask walking around the park. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Armenia, I don't believe you had the opportunity to do any tours on this one. What did you do while I was off having fun?
Oh, well, I was at the doctor's office, which
Oh
great
no.
medical system there for sure. It's all good. Don't worry about it. But we actually wanted to give the travel agents that were with us the experience to kind of have that full-fledged experience, even though it was only the 2 days. But once you get there, to see what the Clean Care Plus, like we discussed, and also some of the tours. So they either had the option of the Explorer, which Denise did, or the Shell Hall, which the one I was supposed to do. But a lot of my staff was on that one, and it was the same feedback. I think it's important now more than ever, because the constraints of how many people as well can be at the actual parks, that it's important that you work with your travel agent and possibly book these things in advance versus always thinking of once you're down there locally. We have our ground handlers, we have our Air Canada Vacations reps that if you wanted to do something while you're down there, but we're also starting to find that as people are traveling, and they are indeed traveling, it's important that you talk to your travel agent nowadays, because it wasn't normally a thing. You would do that in destination, but definitely try to pre-book it if you can as much as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think really the thing to note for sure is the excursions are happening. They are happening safely. They are available to you. So you don't have to, if you're thinking about going away, you don't have to be concerned that, you're going to be sitting on the resort all week, not doing anything. Of course, there are lots of activities still happening at the resorts, but there are those opportunities to leave the resorts to go enjoy those excursions and the opportunities that these countries are offering. And you can do it safely. And just kind of going back to what Armenia was saying, due to the lower capacities of these excursions, pre-buying or pre-reserving your excursions is an excellent way. We can definitely help you with that at the time of booking. If you have any questions, there's so many options out there, but we're here to answer those questions and make the most of your vacation, of course, which is fantastic. So get out there and enjoy, explore, because it was so much fun. Now, on our last night at the resort, because the resort had just been completely renovated, they were actually hosting a grand opening gala. At the gala, it was hosted in the brand new theater, which is absolutely gorgeous. And we had the opportunity to enjoy the new premise of the Mexican resorts for Bahia, which is called Origin. So Origin is about the history of Mexico, the animals, the culture, nature, the Aboriginal culture. There were so many incredible elements to this show, and it also translated into the food experience that we had that evening as well, which was interesting. very very niche.
Apparently very expensive
Oh,
to
really?
feed us, because it was, what was it? It was
It was the world's
ants?
biggest ants
Yeah.
that we had. There were some, I believe they were the worms that you had in the tequila bottles were part of something. It was interesting. It was interesting, but yeah, it was a fantastic show. So if you do have the opportunity to stay at a Bahia and see Origin, you will love it. But just it was interesting, the new way that the hotels are using innovation and technology to make the entertainment experience just a little bit different. So you're still going to have those classic dance shows, the singing shows, all of that going on in the evenings. Those are still going to be happening, but you're going to have opportunities, of course, to see new things like this amazing drone show that we saw. How cool was that?
That was amazing. I couldn't believe it. It was like, it gave people goosebumps. So what was it? I think it was like over 30 drones, and they collectively worked together to what you see on the screen. And I was talking to the entertainment staff and the general manager as we were kind of watching this, and they were saying, if you have to put a positive spin to the pandemic, which I know has been very difficult to do, it's allowed us to kind of sit back and really think of ways to sit around a virtual table, as that's what they were saying, and then just come up with new ways to engage people, because we've all seen the Michael Jackson shows, we've all seen the lip syncing, we've all seen all those, but really we were pretty amazed to see some of the things and the technology that they're using to make entertainment so much more fun. So kudos to the Bahia Principe. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and the skill that those performers have, like, it was insane. It was
Yeah.
so entertaining. It was beautiful. It was incredible. It was really good. I think one of the questions too that I've been getting a lot is about nightlife at the properties. Can they go to a disco? Is there a dance party? You know, are those experiences still happening? They currently, no, we're not seeing that the discos are open. There is a disco on site at the Bahia property, of course, but currently it is closed. However, again, they are taking inspiration from technology and innovation. While we were there on our first night, I know I had an opportunity to witness it. There was a silent disco going on, which I find absolutely hilarious. Seeing there's probably about 30-40 people around the pool deck, again, all spaced out, wearing brightly covered, lit up headphones, all dancing to different beats and singing different songs because nobody can hear them, right? I think it's hilarious. What did you think?
I thought I took a second glance. I know I've seen them before when I've cruised as well. That's a big thing now, but to see it outside, and they were all around the pool. So the social distancing was happening. You can't be in the disco because they're trying to respect, of course, all those people, but around the pool in that space, it's completely capable of doing. So just thinking outside the box, being creative. But yeah, I would say there is disco. It's just going to
just a little bit different, but yeah, it was interesting. But there are still those nightly entertainment acts that are available to you. So by no means does the resort shut down as soon as the sun sets. There are still activities available to you for you to be entertained well into the evening. The lobby bar was open, and I know one night they were singing, really great band that was there on our first night up on the second level of the pool deck. I don't know if you saw that as well, but they were incredible. So yeah, you're not going to be bored by any means, and activities and entertainment are still happening. So that was all in 2 days, guys. So now it's time to head home. So the journey back to the airport, again, was very smooth and seamless. We all boarded the buses, hand sanitizer, bags were sprayed, social distancing on the buses, and we got to the airport. And again, check-in with Air Canada was fantastic, so seamless. And again, at the airport in Mexico, there's lots of signage. There's people pointing you in the right direction. I think, the airport staff know all these policies and procedures are all so new to people. While a lot of it's still the same as before, a lot of it is new, and they are there to help you. So don't be afraid to ask for answers or direction, for sure. We were able to check in quickly. You do have to, which was, this is a new kind of policy that's come out. You do have to download onto your phone or use a computer an app called ArriveCan. This app is going to be used during your 2-week quarantine upon your return home. And every day, essentially, you will have to do a quick little check-in and health declaration, okay, upon your return home. And it's simple questions. Do you have a fever? Are you feeling well? Yes, no, and off you go on your day. It's very simple to use. And it's pretty simple. Armenia, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, when we got to the airport, also Cancun, on our departure, we also had to fill out something that once you got to the counter. But I would probably say that the best thing to do is just work with your Air Canada representative that are going to be on the bus with you, that will guide through you, that will tell you exactly what to do, because things are always changing. With the respective countries that we're working with. So it's really important to get your information from your travel agents and locally, especially once you're down there. So the ArriveCan thing, we kind of knew about, we were seeing it all. That was new to me. I had to download it, fill in the information. realize that every day you had to check in. We knew that once we came from our destination that, you know, you would probably get a phone call. Did you get a phone call, Denise?
I didn't.
Oh,
No,
wow.
no, I was lucky, but I have talked to several of my passengers, my clients, and they have been getting phone calls. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I guess it's hit or miss as to whether you're getting a phone call or not. But I think as long as you're doing the check-in, you're fine.
You're good, and you might get a random phone call just asking you a couple of questions. My particular questions were based on, okay, well, how do you plan on getting your groceries? I have some kids in the house that I didn't travel with. Are we making sure we're social distancing? So they really are trying to do their best to, you know, understand. We know what they're recommending. People do still and want to have to travel as long as you're coming back and you're respecting. And most companies have been extremely good at allowing people to work from home because they start realizing how much more productive sometimes it is working from home than in an office. So we are seeing people definitely take advantage. The 14-day quarantine is a little bit of a hinder for sure. We wish it was a little bit shorter. 2 weeks was you know, long enough, but at the same time, I learned to cook new meals and do new things and spend time by myself. It was totally okay.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So the ArriveCan app will be required for anybody that's traveling from any country and arriving into Canada. Again, the requirements for each individual country that you're going to will differ a little bit. So for Mexico on the way back, we did have to fill out another quick little health declaration. And that was a quick download on your phone as well. It gives you a little code and that's what you present. But again, checking with your travel agent and they will advise you as to what you need to do. But the requirements do range from downloading a simple app to getting a COVID test. So depending on the country that you're going to. So definitely something to keep in mind there. All right, so just before we do a last round of questions here, Armenia, if your best friend was traveling to the Mayan or Mexico tomorrow, what would your top tip be for them?
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm going to hope that my friend took advantage of our situation nowadays, because I will tell you, I have never seen our price points, of course, the way that they have been in all my 20 years in the business. I can't even believe what it was over the Christmas and of course, the New Year's break. Never seen prices like this. If you can book something now, even if it's for the future, book it now, because prices naturally will start going up when you start seeing things like the quarantine lift and you know, people are traveling, and I tell you, they are traveling. The best advice I would give my friend is work with your travel agent. These guys have been spending the last couple of months just being on webinars, getting educated, working with tour operators like myself to educate themselves about things like the Clean Care Plus program and our promotions and what are we doing locally and which hotels are we working with. I really have to commend them because it's a lot of information that, by the way, changes daily. So work with a professional and definitely know what you need to know before, and make sure you know who you're working with locally, because even things like, you know, filling out that health declaration at the airport, that was something that I had heard about. We were so busy, but you'd have to turn on your data at the airport if you need to get on your phone. But it would have been better if you probably would have done it at the hotel when you had Wi-Fi. So, and then trust the process. Really is, if someone says to you that they are taking all the necessary precautions, and Denise and I have been blessed to witness it, from the airport to the aircraft to the destination to the buses to the actual hotels. You know, we know that travel is you're on this live feed because we know that this travel is very important to your lives, it's to your sanity, to your well-being. So if you can't travel now, at least plan it for sure now, because price points and promotions. Air Canada Vacations right now has a Boxing Day sale that goes up until the 3rd of January. For January departures, we are focusing on January departures. And I tell you, I have never seen price points like this. And plus, we have things available to help our consumers feel more reassured that we're looking and we really have their backs. We've got COVID insurance included, and your travel agents could include that for you and give you more information. We have our own versions of our kind of like insurance. We don't call them insurance policies, but I guess added value. So if you need more flexibility to cancel, like a CareFlex Plus, inquire with your travel agents. They have all the tools to help you understand your situation, your concerns, and what needs to be added to a file in order to see if something were to happen and you needed to cancel, what your options are.
Absolutely. Yeah, the CareFlex Plus is a fantastic product. I've used it. Well, I've purchased it a couple times myself. It's great. And I think one other thing to quickly just touch on, seeing that everything that's happened in the last 10 months, insurance now is more important than ever. So again, this is something that you can speak with your travel agent with to find the appropriate coverage for you. There's so many different coverages out there, something for everybody, but at the end of the day, making sure that you are fully covered for your trip, for your health, and in protecting your investment is so important these days. And just being able to have that flexibility if you do change your mind, which some of these policies or waivers can add, is fantastic. So, well, that kind of brings us to the end here, folks. We do have some time for some more questions. Pam, do we have any more questions?
Boy, we got some great ones. The first one's a little bit of a trick question.
Uh-oh.
People are asking, is there any way they can get a COVID test instead of quarantining for 14 days?
At this point, no. So, there are changes happening that are in the works, conversations that are happening about removing the 2-week quarantine for us here in Ontario and across the country. At this point, no, there is no other alternative to the 2-week quarantine, but hopefully that will happen sooner rather than later.
I'm going to jump in there, Denise, because I'm coming to you from Calgary today.
Yes, Calgary will be the exception, and I believe Montreal as well.
In Alberta, you can actually get tested at the Calgary airport. The program's been running for a few weeks. It's been very successful. I've spoken with clients that traveled through Calgary last week. They had results before they made it to their car.
Amazing.
And then you don't have to quarantine. At this time, you do have to be an Alberta resident. You'll have to agree to stay in Alberta for 2 weeks. We know Mr. Ford out in Toronto is pushing very hard to get this in Toronto. So we hope to see, because it's been so successful here in Alberta, that will happen across the country. But at this time, you can only get a test in lieu of quarantining in Alberta. So there's that one. What happens if you get sick or get COVID while you're in Mexico?
Oh, great question. So this is where, of course, a COVID insurance is definitely going to come to your aid, whether it's helping you with any medical bills, being hospitalized, any quarantines after you've been diagnosed with COVID. But essentially, while you're in destination, if you are testing positive for COVID, you would have to stay in destination. This is my understanding anyway. You won't be allowed back on an aircraft until you get that negative test result. Is that correct, Armenia?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and we know that a lot of the hotels have separate areas so that you can actually quarantine in your resort. So as long as you've purchased your insurance, and you would stay there and just get well. And I have used some of the hospitals and so on in Cancun, and they're excellent. So should that happen, it is a fairly safe place to get sick, if you will.
Yep.
So the next question that's come in is, how far was the Bahia from the airport, and can you arrange for a private transfer?
Absolutely, yes. So the Bahia is about an hour and 15 minutes away from the airport along one great highway. So you're not going off into the countryside at all. It's a smooth road, which is fantastic. But if you don't want to do the provided transfer, you can absolutely purchase a private transfer through your agent. They can get that all set up for you. It definitely is a possibility for sure. And I've done it several times myself.
Excellent. Okay. And They're asking, were the a la carte restaurants open at the Bahia?
They were, yes. So we had the opportunity. I know I went to the gourmet restaurant. There is a Mexican restaurant that had the most to die for tacos. Oh my God, they were so good.
I did the
Um,
Indian.
You did the Indian, yeah. So there are several a la carte restaurants at the Bahia. They were all open, again, with all the protocols in place that we talked about earlier in the earlier restaurant section.
Excellent. And is there anything provided for people that maybe don't have a smartphone or anything to use the app? What would they do?
So there is an option. You can do the Arrive Can procedure directly online. You can do that there. You would have to check in, I believe, daily through a telephone call. So there is that alternative, but you do have to have essentially access to a phone, to the internet, in order to do your daily check-in. The other form that we had to fill out online or through an app in Mexico, they did have paper copies of that available for you to fill out as well if you didn't have a smartphone with you.
Excellent. Okay, that's good to know. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Armenia and Denise, great information. You've certainly got me ready to head back to the beach. And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. If one of your questions didn't get answered or you have a few more, myself and Deborah will be hanging around the chat function for another 10 minutes or so. So feel free to continue to ask your questions and suggest maybe any destinations you'd love to have us talk about next. You're welcome to call in to Sell Off Vacations. The phone lines are open today until 9 p.m. Eastern. You can reach one of our agents at 1-877-735-5633. And you can also contact our expert, Denise, today through email. She's available at ajax, AJAX, at selloffvacations.com. And as well, today's presentation will be posted on our YouTube channel, which is My Sell Off Vacations. And all of our past presentations, as well as resort and airline COVID safety videos, are there if you'd like to see them. On behalf of Sell Off Vacations, I want to wish everyone a very happy new year. We are all really looking forward to 2021, as I'm sure you are too. We have a show again next week, like we do every week. January 6th, we have Melanie Druin. She's our expert, and she's going to be talking to us about destination weddings. So again, Happy New Year, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week.